All right. Thank you for your patience. All right, so once again, good evening, and thank you for viewing the October 16th meeting of the Arcata City Council. The City Council meeting is being held as a hybrid meeting with both in-person attendance and teleconference access via Zoom. We will start with our land acknowledgement. The City of Arcata acknowledges that lands we are located on are the unceded ancestral lands of the Wiyot tribe. The land that Arcata rests on is known in the Wiyot language as Gudini, meaning over in the woods or among the redwoods. Past actions by local, state, and federal governments removed the Wiyot and other indigenous peoples from land and threatened to destroy their cultural practices. The City of Arcata acknowledges the Wiyot community, their elders both past and present, as well as future generations. This acknowledgement seeks in aiding the dismantling the legacy narratives of settler colonialism. And if you would like to, please join me for the flag salute. Will the city clerk please call roll?
Mayor Matthews.
Here.
Vice Mayor Stillman. Councilmember Schaefer.
Here.
Councilmember White.
Here.
Councilmember Atkins Salazar is absent, but we do have a quorum.
So before we begin, we do have one certificate of appreciation that's presented to George Williamson, and Councilmember Stillman will read that.
So thank you. So the certificate of appreciation is presented to George Williamson. The City Council of the City of Arcata hereby recognizes and thanks George Williamson for his 11 years of service on the Arcata Energy Committee. During his tenure, George served as the chair of the committee, provided valuable input on many important energy-related topics with particular interest in electrification of buildings. George was an effective chair dedicated to conducting timely and organized meetings, and his knowledge of planning process and projects occurring in our community was an asset to the committee's work. The council expresses its sincere appreciation for his guidance, support, and work in benefit of our entire community. And it was dated October 16th, 2024 by Mayor Matthews, signed it. And George, would you like to come forward and accept it?
Okay, that's what I got here. Very nice, and you spelled my name right and everything. This is great. Well, I just want to acknowledge that the strength and the engagement of a community is often expressed through leadership and commitment of residents through the commissions and the committees that you guys have established. And it starts with you, but this Energy Committee has, it's just been a real pleasure and a great learning experience to be part of that. And I'm hoping that others will sign on and serve in that capacity too. But I just want to acknowledge your staff, Emily Benvey, and Morgan Selfchick. I hope I got her name right. They set the meetings, put together meaningful agendas, do the research, come informed and prepared to guide us and engage and record our discussions. We've had Tabitha come to our meetings and talk about some of the financial aspects. Other department heads have come and to work with us, educate us. So it's been a great experience, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your service. So thank you. I want to acknowledge that so many of you came out, and the council is really interested in what you have to say. Typically at this point, we have council and staff reports. I would wondering if someone would.
Yeah, I'm going to make a motion for an agenda modification to move early oral communications before staff reports and to increase that 15-minute period to 30 minutes.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, wonderful. So what we're going to do now is start early oral communication. So we value your comments. This public comment period allows people to address the council on matters that are not on the agenda. This early section of public comment, which is usually limited to 15 minutes, I will extend it to 30 minutes, and speakers are limited to 2 minutes each. If you prefer a full 3 minutes of time for public comment, this item is continued to the end of the meeting under item 13, where speakers are granted 3 minutes. Please know that pursuant to the Brown Act, the council cannot discuss or take action on items not listed on the agenda, and we may respond to statements. And there's also time to provide public comment specific to each item when that item is being reviewed by the council. So I'll ask you, if you'd like to make public comment, to line up. Just know that if you speak at the early part, you cannot speak at the later part. But if you'd like to speak now, please line up, and we're happy to hear from you.
Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to speak to you guys. My name is Sean. I am here because I think that this genocide that's happening in Palestine is very moving. It's definitely affecting many of us in very profound and intimate ways. And I really want to put the proposal forward that we have a sister city in Palestine, in Gaza City. This can allow us to get aid, medical aid into Palestine. We can do this as a community, bring the whole community together in a coalition building. We can bring an ambulance into Gaza. Boulder, Colorado has a sister city with Nablus in Palestine, and they have given an ambulance. And if they can do it, we can do it. We've passed a ceasefire as a city. That's great, but those are words, important words, but just words. And we really want to put action behind those words, behind that commitment. We passed that resolution because we have a commitment. And I really want us to speak to our shared commitment.
I'm going to need you to address the council, though. Thank you.
Oh, I wasn't addressing them. I'm just noticing that there are a lot of people here that appear to care about this very issue of Palestine generally. So, with the election, regardless of who wins, president is probably going to get worse, honestly, either way. And, so please feel free, if you want more information, come to the Palestine Talking Corner we have every Saturday from noon to 2 at the Farmers Market.
Thank you for your comments. And let's hold our applause, please. Thank you so much. Let's cut into our time.
Hi, my name's Tricia Murphy. Thank you for this opportunity to talk. I sent this letter earlier today to all of you on the council, the mayor, and I think there were 11 copies that were required, so you should have a copy of this in front of you. I'm going to go to page 3 if you'd like to follow. I'm here also in support of a sister city idea in Gaza City, Palestine, and I think it does open some doors and gives us some access if we can create that sister city. In this letter written by 99 doctors who have served in Gaza over, I think, a period of 254 weeks, all total. It says, pregnant and breastfeeding women are malnourished. Those who have worked with pregnant women regularly saw stillbirths, maternal deaths, C-sections done without anesthesia. Women are being offered Tylenol for their C-sections. Israel has destroyed more than half of Gaza's healthcare resources and killed nearly 1,000 Palestinian healthcare workers, more than 1 out of every 20 healthcare workers in Gaza. That's almost 1,000 healthcare workers that have been, the ambulances are getting destroyed, the ambulance drivers have been targeted. Children, if you go up to the top of the page, this is specific to the sniper targeting and shooting of children in the head, right here and right in the chest. And they're seeing this day in and day out. And these doctors are all, there's 99 signatures from doctors that don't necessarily have any bias, They're doctors that have come to work there all over the world. They say they've never seen any horror like what is happening in Gaza. And if there's anything I can do to help, and if there's anything you all can do to help, we should be doing it, because our government damn sure isn't doing it. They keep saying that they don't like the fact that this is happening, but they keep sending money.
Thank you so much for your comments.
Hi there, my name's Dana Quillman, and I've been a resident of Arcata for like 43 years. I'm running for city council. I think it's okay for me to say that here. I'm not taking donations, I don't do lawn signs, I don't do endorsements, and I don't raise money or anything, so I have a great website, all kinds of censored information. Censorship is the biggest problem right now in our country. We're about to lose our US Constitution. But the issue I want to speak about tonight is the EPA being sued for fluoridation of our water. I ran in 2006 because a lot of concerned citizens who knew about the dangers of fluoride took it upon themselves to get signatures for a referendum, and that's why I ran for city council. And unfortunately, all the doctors and dentists showed up here every week before that election to say that, oh no, we got to keep fluoride in the water, even though we now know for sure. I mean, we knew back then all the dangers of it, but now the government is agreeing with it, although the EPA doesn't have a timeline as to when to take it out. I understand the fluoridation equipment's been broken for some time. I would have liked to know that, because I've been paying for artesian well water at $10 for every 5 gallons for 14 years now, so that I don't have to have fluoride in my water. I don't want Alzheimer's or weak bones or any of the other things, low IQ. So anyway, we don't have a lot of control about Gaza. I do support a sister city, though, for that, by the way. I'm glad that there's all these people here. We need an anti-war movement, and I don't know what happened to the anti-war movement of the past, but we certainly need it back for all the wars. So anyway, you have power to take the fluoride out of our water. You could do it right now, And if you don't know enough about why you should do that, then I strongly suggest you go onto the high wire.
Thank you, Dana. That's your 2 minutes.
1 year ago, there was
Thank you, Dana. That was your 2 minutes.
episode 340.
Thank you.
Hi, Paul Patino, Arcata. I just want to say I'm totally in support of anything we can do to stop the war and stop funding Israel. It's real obvious. If you give them money, they're going to kill people. We're giving them money, they're killing people. It's real obvious. And we're all responsible if we vote in people that want to continue that. So that's one, just because I didn't actually prepare for that. What I did come here primarily for was to talk about water fluoridation. During the time I was on the council, it came up to us. We didn't have the information. We had the books, and I passed them out. Fluoride deception. I said, read the book. You will never put it in your water, and you won't drink water with it in it. It didn't pass, and here we are like 20 years later trying to resolve it. Since the EPA has come out against it, finally, clearly, because they were sued and they lost, I think we should take it out now proactively. And any kind of resolution you can send in about quitting the war in Gaza or not funding Israel would be the primary item. Anything you can do about that, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dan Shaheen. I'm a citizen of Arcata. I'm Palestinian American. I want to wholeheartedly endorse the notion of a sister city between Arcata and any efforts that can be done to bring aid into Gaza, because there hasn't been any food coming in since October 1st at all. They're blatant violation of UN laws, humanitarian laws are being flouted, international laws being flouted on a daily basis. We're funding terrorism that's being committed in other nations through the act of assassination via perfidy, which is a war crime. You can look it up. I didn't know that word before I found this out. The pager bombings and the other acts are blatantly illegal war crimes. We need to make sure that we condition all of our funding to Israel based on their adherence to international law. And I know for a fact that the council supports that because you signed the ceasefire resolution, which included that as one of the items. You realize how important adherence to international law is, not just for Palestinians, but for everyone around the world. Those laws are put here to protect us, and we need to make sure that we send a message. There's a lot of negativity and a lot of bad things going on in that region. If we can do anything to add one drop of positivity and one bit of aid to help children and people who have no hope, have no refuge, have no power, we owe it to them and we owe it to our community to live up to our values and become a sister city. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Hello, my name is Gregory Bonagira. I'm a registered nurse in Humboldt County. Before I say anything else, I would just like to acknowledge that this is stolen land, and I feel like that part is left out of the land statement made earlier. Also, I would like to acknowledge that I don't really particularly acknowledge the authority of this body to rule, or the United States government to rule. Citing Hobbes' social contract, simply that, you know, you need to provide some sort of like basic safety, and there is no safety when I look at video of the plaza on last Tuesday and I see brutal police. You know, the APD beat a man who was simply trying to cook food and feed hungry people. I myself have eaten in that plaza free food. I have served free food in that plaza, and I appreciate Councilperson Sarah Schaefer for responding to me on Instagram. I want to state that, you know, she shared with me that she was surprised that she couldn't get information from the police department, and I was not surprised by that, because this is like characteristic of a police state, where the police have more power than our elected officials to do things. You also shared with me that, you know, you can't simply drop a charge. We all know that the district attorney has to do that. And I would again just like to say that the district attorney can build a case against the man for cooking in the plaza, but can't build a case against the man who murdered Josiah Lawson 7 years later. Like, are you kidding me? And then in Gaza, right? The same way you can't get the police to cooperate. I don't know if Biden can stop IDF from burning people alive, because that's what I see when I look at Instagram. I see Arcata police brutally beating people, and I see our government and our tax money being used to burn children alive. I still have 3 minutes, and I would just like to say that this is state violence, and I don't agree.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Thomas. I am a Arcata community member. Many of you know me through Instagram, through different places that we've met in town. I've worked at local dispensaries, I've worked at shoe shops, and I currently manage a local tax office. What's taken place on the plaza in the past few weeks is deeply uncalled for, and it's just inhumane at this point. With Governor Gavin Newsom putting into place the sweeps of our unhoused community members, we've seen an unlawful amount of policing on the plaza for about a month now. I've had so many unhoused community members come up to me and tell me how they are fleeing the plaza within a 2-block area because of what's been going on. And now it has escalated to the brutal attack of a Cal Poly Humboldt student who is a 21-year-old black person and did not deserve to be tackled to the ground by 5 police officers. So much more needs to be said on this, but the violence that black bodies face in this country is not something that we can stop, but it is something that we can speak out against. And I hope that City Council is willing to hear the fact that we are not willing to tolerate police brutality in the city of Arcata. We are not willing to tolerate the brutalization of Black and brown bodies, especially on stolen land that will never be given back. Please consider everything that is being brought by your community members, because we didn't come here after work to waste our time. We came here to speak up on behalf of the people that we love and care about. And all we really want is to see a decrease in policing on the plaza, if possible. It's something that we're willing to talk about going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Crane Conso. I work here locally in the community. It's not easy to come up and be here. I've been brutalized by local police. I don't want to come and speak in public if I don't have to. There's a disconnect here in like this white liberal progressive idea space and what is actually happening to our community, right? And I need to look at like all the money spent and the initiatives and the ordinances and like what's actually happening to Black and brown people here and what happened here to make this exist and like what's continuing to happen now. And I want to know what is our police oversight? What does that look like? Are we now accepting police statements on themselves? Like that's the investigation. That's what happens. So we brutalize somebody and here's our press release. And I expect like all of the elected officials to say, no, that's not what happened, because there's so many people that saw what happened. Who's talked to them? Who's talked to them? Where is that? What is that? I'm furious. I'm furious because majority of our community works every day to build our community. And then the actions of these 5 assholes using jujitsu on a community member, like, where's the recourse for that? What am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to police the police? I can't do that. They'll shoot me in the face, right? So what do I do? Because I have to walk around and see a murderer who's free to walk around the county because of his family's connections to Humboldt County, right? Kyle Zollner, right? And that guy got gently placed in a cop car and for 7 years has roamed around. And a young Black man gets assaulted on the plaza. What am I supposed to do? Call the police? Hey, what's up? So I'm really angry, and I need to know what I'm supposed to do. What can our community do to check this fascist police force that did this? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Deanna Lovu, and I've been a community member in Arcata for a few years now. I originally moved here in 2017, and I lived in Blue Lake. At the time, I met 2 Black officers who worked right here in Arcata. Because I was like, well, where's the police department in Blue Lake? And they were like, oh, we use the Arcata Police APD. So the police at that time gave me their personal numbers and was like, if you need anything, call me. A ride, if you're caught in trouble, whatever you need, call me. And that is the kind of social emotional skills that our police need. And so I'm here to say, under the last chief, I know that he was working to provide social emotional development for the force, was also working with the university to develop the officers and DEI initiatives like the Dimensions of Racism, which is a consulting group that provides that here as well, and with Meredith and Sharon, and at the time, Dr. Cheryl Johnson. And so if we could bring that back, I'm curious about how that interaction could change with some social emotional development. And because we live in Arcata, this is not a place where I imagine this thing to happen. I came from Baltimore, where I literally lived under martial law, five blocks up the street from where Freddie Gray was detained and then killed, and this is not the place for that. Black people are moving here in a large number from different areas around the state, and so when they come here, they shouldn't be coming here to the same circumstances that they're coming from. And Also, I would like to say, I have given out lots of things as the visionary of Black Humboldt around Arcata, and I've posted a lot of places, and there should be an opportunity for other Black people to do the same thing, regardless of what they look like, how old they are, gender, etc. And that's my piece. I'll be back.
Thank you for your comment.
I'll be back.
Hi, my name's Emily. I've been a resident of Arcata for 20 years. I have a family here. Now I have 3 points of contention. It's the people feeding the homeless is been, in Santa Rosa, they arrested lots of people, and it's really not cool to hear that it's happening in our community. So my next 2 points of contention. Should we really be adding a neurotoxin to our drinking water? In August, a precedent-setting ruling by the U.S. District Court of Northern California ordered the EPA to basically stop water fluoridation. The judge said that, quote, "The court finds that fluoridation of water presently considered optimal in the United States poses an unreasonable risk of reduced IQ in children. The court finds there is an unreasonable risk of such injury, a risk significant to require the EPA to engage with the regulatory response." Okay, policymakers at the local and state level do not need to wait to take action. The federal government does not mandate fluoridation, and thus local and state decision makers can take action immediately. We have a very thorough decision made by the federal courts based on extensive evidence. The public didn't sign up to have a chemical added to public drinking water that could adversely affect the brain. And while a cavity can easily be filled, damage to the brain is permanent. The cost of fluoridating the water is very high, so let's move that money to our sister city idea. My second point of contention is the speed limit in residential areas. With all the young families growing and coming to this community, the speed limit should be 15 miles per hour.
Thank you. All right, we have enough time for about 6 more speakers, and then we will continue at the end. Thank you.
Last week, I witnessed absolutely horrifying footage of 5 APD officers atop one unarmed Black man whose offense was barbecuing without a permit. Why would this community call the police on this man to begin with? Who was he harming? Would you call the police on a child's lemonade stand? And more importantly, if they did, is that how the Arcata police would have responded? By tackling the child to the ground and violently arresting them because they wouldn't provide ID for a citation for selling food without a permit? What are we doing here? What are we doing here? Can you not see the gross hypocrisy in this? Can you not see the abhorrent racism in this? Can you not see the prejudice doesn't stop at the police? It's deeply seated in this sick community rife with privilege who are too comfortable turning a blind eye. Do you turn a blind eye? Do you turn a blind eye, council members? You wonder why Cal Poly's enrollment is at an all-time low? You cannot protect Black bodies in this community. I'm from this community. I've never felt safe here. Never. My entire life. And that is a shame. Wow. It is a shame that you were ever given the title of a progressive community. Under your tattered Bernie Sanders shirts, your white robes are showing. We feel your white supremacy. What are you going to do about this? This is our community too. I'm from Humboldt. I deserve to feel safe. Mike deserves to feel safe. We all, everybody in this community deserves to feel safe.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Aaron Monroe. I'm a local nonprofit co-founder. Someone earlier spoke on the anti-war movement, and so I just wanted to ask the council here, what about the war on Black and brown bodies? My child goes to school in this community, and she's frequently disturbed and in tears every time I drive by a police car. And it's a difficult thing to explain to her
other than to say that we have change, but we don't have transformation. You can't have transformation under these circumstances. If we're not addressing the crimes of the past, how are we going to move forward into the future? So my question to you all is, what are we going to do about it? I think that's the only question, is what are we going to do about it? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Kente Johnson. I know all of you up there. So good to see you. I do not have a prepared statement. I am here on behalf of myself as a concerned citizen, not speaking on behalf of any organizations tonight. However, in my capacity as your co-chair of your Equity Arcata board, I am deeply concerned by the incidents that I have been witnessing on the plaza. I hope that our next Equity Arcata meeting, that we are addressing not only the incident of over-policing on the plaza, the use of overforce, excessive force to arrest somebody for barbecuing. Like, it should not ever have happened to the point where it escalated to over a barbecue grill. The man was unarmed. It wasn't like he threatened law enforcement or took the grill and threw it at them or charged at them in anything of that way. You know how many black and brown bodies we have seen in those kind of moves that end up the opposite way, where we're all having to bury somebody? We can do better. We demand better. We demand better accountability from our elected officials, from our police force. Our children in this community deserve to feel free, and they deserve to feel safe, like they can walk along these streets along anybody else, regardless of what they color or what they look like. And lastly, I am in 100% full support of this sister city idea. I encourage us, Equity Arcata, to look into this and to push the city to do something. Our community is demanding that we do something, and I think it's time for us to listen. If we're really this progressive place that we claim to be, then let's be progressive and do something radical. I'm out.
Thank you. Okay, the four people in line, you're the last people to speak. Thank you.
It was about a year ago that I was here and we were begging y'all to make a resolution about a ceasefire in Palestine. Y'all eventually listened. We wish you would listen quicker. We wish you would listen faster. We wish you would listen when we're asking, not when we're resting at festivals and things, not when we're taking walks, not when we're trying to get some things in appropriate spaces like here and now. We wish you would listen. We wish you would gather the opinions of the folks and not hide behind this space of we can't do anything, not hide behind these land acknowledgements and turn around and disrespect Native community member after Black community member, after poor community member, after houseless community member. Black folks in this community, people of color in this community, we're literally on your brochures. You're literally getting money for our presence. You're literally building your new vision of Arcata. Used to be, we had friends. Used to be we had all the weed money. Now y'all were super quick to come get that equity money. Y'all were super quick to try to get these new police here. Still can't get them. They're still not coming. But these are still police who have offenses against them for harming people in the past. They're still here. They're still welcome jobs. We have cops running, sprinting to arrest a young man, crawling, walking to find someone we already know is a murderer. The coming in here is so surreal. Coming in and listening to the interviews and the certifications and gakara and blah, 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 100%. But Jesus Christ, we are living in realities that y'all can't see, and we wish you would fucking listen when we tell you about it.
Thank you.
Good evening, counselors. My name is Alice Finan. Since I first came to Humboldt in 1996, I fell immediately in love with the environment. but it was the community that kept me here. The community who openly embraced me and nurtured me. I came from a very small, homogeneous town, and moving into the dorms was the most exciting and diverse experience I had ever had. I soon learned, though, that the community that welcomed me and looked out for me did not experience the same treatment in this town. I saw my black and brown friends were racially profiled when going into local stores. I saw the bruises our Native and queer community members received when getting jumped after walking home from an evening on the plaza. I learned my friends don't feel safe calling the cops. Why our Indigenous community is triggered by being on campus. I have witnessed firsthand police brutality against students of color standing up for Palestine. Your law enforcement smashing students' heads into the pavement, who your university promised would be safe if they came up to Humboldt to spend their thousands of dollars that support your community and your local businesses. Last Tuesday, my children and I witnessed a local business owner on the plaza flag down the community outreach officer, point toward a chimney of coals on the concrete next to an empty barbecue where a beloved black community member was using the plaza for what it should be used for, community connection and support. This business owner pointed Mike out and then went back into their business because customers were waiting. Your business owners put their profit over the sanctity of black, brown, and Indigenous bodies. Your law enforcement, instead of honoring the work this individual community member has done for all of us, chose to react and escalate what was a calm situation. You say the police are here to protect and serve, but my children did not witness this. They witnessed the most heinous and terrifying brutality of their lives, and it was nothing compared to the trauma, violence, and injustice Mike and other black bodies went through on this night.
Thank you for your comment. Thank you. That was your 2 minutes. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Carpani Burns. My name is Carpani Burns. And you have listened to this heartbreak and trauma, the stories of all my brothers and sisters here over the years. They're just telling you today's story. And it keeps coming. And if you're not seeing it, if you're not seeing this thing ballooning, you had these officers that, first of all, I just have to say, I demand that you investigate these officers, that you hold them responsible, that they are fined, fired, whatever. But these people, and this community needs to know that you have done this, that you have taken responsibility for these officers creating yet another layer. How can I say it? Another layer of collective trauma, which we are experiencing every day, every single day, just with Palestine, the Sudan, Yemen, all over the world, it's happening. And then we get to have our very own police department chime in. And that is only, Josiah, still working on Josiah. As the good sister said, we slow walk. Isn't that what you said? Slow walk.
Crawl.
Yeah.
Crawl.
Crawling.
Crawl.
She's so correct. And if you're not putting space and time and your heart, you must be heartbroken. And if you're not,
thank you.
Hello. I came here to echo the sentiment that our community members need to feel safe, and they do not feel safe with your police department hyper-policing us in our own town. And I came here today actually with a specific story that I think really illustrates how out of control APD is. On Monday, I was walking to work, and I saw Officer Burke, and I felt overcome in that moment with emotion because of what I saw him do to Mike. And I turned around, I was about 8 feet away from them, and I spit on the ground, And you know what they did? They chased me down, handcuffed me behind my back for an infraction level offense that was non-violent. I was handcuffed and detained for 15 minutes on the Arcata Plaza. I was late to work that day, by the way, for spitting on the ground 8 feet away from a police officer. He threatened to take me to county jail. He told me I was lucky he didn't book me into county jail. What a waste. What a waste of everybody's time. I mean, there's like, and I think I left one of you a message about it the day it happened because it was so insane. I thought you guys needed to hear about it. I had hoped you would get back to me, but you didn't. And you know what? He told me, Officer Burke told me that because I was argumentative about my citation, he felt unsafe. I was unarmed, handcuffed. I am 5'4". They are 2 grown men with guns. And they felt unsafe while I sat on the ground, handcuffed. If you feel unsafe because someone is arguing with you about an infraction level citation, you should not be a police officer. And I pray that Officer Burke, that action is taken against him before someone loses a loved one because he had a bad day.
No more bad days for bad cops. That's a violence training.
Thank
How
you so much.
disgusting.
Okay, thank you. I'm closing early oral communication. If you haven't gotten a chance to speak and you'd still like to speak, there will be a time at the end. But we are going to move on, and we're going to move on to council and staff reports.
Can we have council reports first?
Do you want council reports first? Yeah. Go ahead.
I just want to respond and say something and maybe propose a couple things and make a couple asks of our council here. Yeah. I wrote down a bunch of chicken scratch here and I'm wrote over it. And so these thoughts are not collected, but I did have the opportunity today to talk to some folks at Cal Poly and ODI who are on Equity Arcata as well. And this is really being felt in the university community. It's being felt obviously in this council chamber. And this idea, the business owners have come to us. They want us to, get people off the plaza, clean up the plaza, get the dogs off the plaza, get people to stop drinking, stop smoking. But I don't think that this is what business owners meant or wanted to see. And I know that many of us have had the opportunity to watch the body camera footage, and I know that that will be available in the public record soon enough. And I thought it would make me feel better maybe, and it did not. And so some asks that I want to make of this council, and at least to agendize at a future meeting or talk about at a future meeting. We have a public safety committee that is non-operational and doesn't have enough people on it and doesn't have direction. And I've been looking into and researching models, Santa Barbara, Ann Arbor, Michigan, San Francisco, that have police oversight committees in smaller towns, in larger towns, and it works. And I think that to bridge this community with policing, right? Like we want to have community policing, but that's not what's happening. That we need to at least have some overhaul of what our public safety committee does or what advising they do. And I think that agendizing the idea of having a police oversight committee, and if this council is interested in exploring that, is the absolute bare minimum that we can do in response to what happened on Tuesday. And that this is also an opportunity for our police department, if they're out there listening, to engage with the Cal Poly community, to engage with the Black community locally, or at least learn from what these community members want and listen, at least to listen. Yeah, all right. And then also the other, I don't know if we want to do this individually. If there's people that want to do it as a council, I am planning on doing it individually. I have the case number, but to write letters to the DA and tell them to drop charges, because this is not somebody should be a felon over. So that's all I wanted to add. And yeah. And so I'd like to agendize the thing I said, though.
Okay, thank you. So did you have anything else for your council reports tonight?
We have to talk about nuclear power again because we messed up our voting. So if you care about nuclear power, come to the RCEA meeting next Thursday. So that's my other report.
Okay, Vice Mayor Stillman, do you have anything to report out?
Well, next meeting, I will talk more about transit and all the transit opportunities that are happening within the county and in other counties.
So I do have a couple things to report out, but I did want to address, piggyback on what Sarah said about the Public Safety Committee. I've brought this up several times, and for whatever reason, I've been told that it's not going to move forward. I have heard from several committee members, or community members, excuse me, that have applied and their application has not been acknowledged. I've been told that we don't have enough people to meet quorum, and yet people are applying for this position to be on our Public Safety Committee as a volunteer. So, yeah, I would love to move forward to talk about a Public Safety Committee, and then certainly the further conversation about an Oversight Committee. So, yeah, if anybody is interested in getting that agendized, I think that would be a good thing.
Great.
Oh,
Thank you,
and then I
Councilmember
do
Wood.
have a couple things to report. So I did have an opportunity to attend a one-day economic forecast conference and last Wednesday, and then I attended a two-day economic summit. So that was sponsored by formerly the Arcata Economic Development Commission, now the EDGE. And I also got to approve a loan today for a local Arcata new business, so that was pretty exciting. I attended the Homeless Housing Working Group today and just wanted to announce that Arcata House Partnership has been awarded a $3.7 million to address homeless encampments. So help is coming, so I hope that that's encouraging. They will be focusing on some of the cabins or shelters, cabins in the Valley West area. So as everybody knows, we need a little love out there. And then also today during the Homeless Housing Working Group, we also talked about the extreme weather, which is coming. We know it every year, so hopefully we'll be ready for that to help our unhoused community residents. That's all I've got.
Thank you. All right, so let's move on to staff reports. So we're going to first receive an introduction and overview of the OpenGov Transparency Portal from Tabitha Miller, Finance Director. Can we receive an update?
Sorry, give me just a moment. So we've talked about the OpenGov Financial Transparency Portal on a number of occasions, and we have walked through the version of the budget that is in this same portal. But I thought it would be useful for the council and for the public to have just a quick overview, because the whole purpose behind the transparency portal is to try to make the financial information available to the public, to the council, to anybody who wants to take a look at it. And it's in a format that you can search and filter and narrow down what you're trying to look for. And so I wanted to take just a few minutes to walk you through it. First of all, where it's at. So it's under the finance department. So when you log into the City of Arcata site, if you go to departments, finance, you'll end up here. It's right on the side here, OpenGov Financial Transparency Portal. If you put in Transparency Portal into the search, you'll also be able to pull it up. But the idea is that you should be able to come in and take a look at where the city's revenues and expenses are in real time. So this system actually updates every night, overnight, so it will show the transactions from yesterday in today's viewing, which is, if you're interested in following anything. So this is to get there, but before we get there, I did want to point out that there's a couple page transparency how-to in the pamphlet, or in your, your agenda packet today. It's also available right here. It'll walk you through what you need. There's also a really quick overview of the city's accounting structure, that if for anybody who really wants to be a nerd and really dig into the finances, it's there for you. I'm also more than willing, if anybody reaches out to me, to talk you through the process too. So when you move into the transparency portal, this is the screen that you're going to see, and I'm going to just point out some real quick things. So the name of the report is over here on the left-hand side. It's the City of Arcata Financial Transparency Portal, and this is set up just to provide information here. You'll notice that Underneath this, on the right-hand side, what we've created is different views, and it's basically different filters of information. So what we're trying to do is answer people's questions about the finances and make it as easy as possible to sort of get to where you want to be. I'm going to start here with the question, what is the total citywide revenues and expenses each year? And this gives you an overview from 2022-23 all the way to our current data in 24-25. Again, it is updated every night. To move over to the view, it'll start with this nice graph, but you've got a number of options as far as the graph goes. You can do a percentage graph, which shows you a comparison over time, how revenues and expenses break out. You've got the stacked graph, which will show you kind of the same information, but show you the ups and downs. A line graph, very similar to a pie graph if you really want to see how things break out, and then back to the chart here. The other thing is that the idea is that you can drill in and drill down to the detail, and you can do it two ways. If you click on, for example, if I'm interested in revenues, I can click here, or I can click on the revenue bar, and it's going to give me a different view. It's going to break it down by category so that I can see where our revenues citywide are coming from. I also have the ability, we've talked about this a lot, intergovernmental revenues are primarily the grants we receive. It's more than 50% of our revenue these days, and it is primarily funding our capital projects. But let's say I want to know what charges for service are, specifically what makes up that particular category, and I get a really quick, simple view, and I can see that our wastewater is the largest piece of that, and it's at almost 53% of our total charges for service. And you can drill down into each and every one of these, or take the expense side of it. At the same time, you're going to see the numbers in real time down below it. So if you're somebody who really likes to look at the numbers, you can see the numbers below and really track those too. So the data's there. There's an overwhelming amount of data. Again, we've created about 20 views here that you can take a look at. But you also have the ability to create your own. And so if you go to filters here, just to the left of views, this is where you can actually, if there's something in particular that you want to track or watch, you certainly can do that. And you've got a number of ways to sort it, and I would just suggest you play with it. So I'm going to just quickly kind of point out, I'm going to move to, I want to look at expenses, and let's say I want to look at the expense by type, and I'm going to look at the city council budget. It's one that isn't broken down because it's relatively small compared to the rest of the city. So I'm going to go to activities. I'm going to unselect everything here, and I happen to know that under legislature, city council budget, and I can pull that up, and I have pulled up your expenditure budget for all of those years, and you can see that it's broken down into materials and service, personal services, and a capital outlay. You've got your numbers down here. At any point, again, you can drill down and look at your individual line items. You can look at what's budgeted, what's been spent to date, and it gives you just a really good overview. And again, it's something that if you wanted to track a particular expense, a particular project, and see where the city's at, this is available online. Anybody can go into it, city council, or anybody from the public. And again, I'm happy if anybody wants to know more about it. I know my contact information is on that navigation page. The other thing is we've got a couple help items up here in the right-hand corner. There's a how-to. You can go back to the welcome screen. There's a sort of 101 on multi-fund accounting. And then if you contact the city of Arcata, it's going to come to me. The other thing I would say is if you're somebody who likes to play with data, I can't imagine you want to post this on your Facebook page, but that's great if you'd like to, or email it to all your friends. But you can also download the information, which gives anybody the ability to take a look at it, sort it, look at it in your own way. And if you're somebody who likes Excel, like I do, that might be something that you would be interested in doing. So with that, I'll kind of close that one out unless there were any questions about how it works.
Anybody have any questions? I did play around with it today. It's kind of awesome, and I love how transparent it is. I do not like Excel, though. But anybody else have any comments?
I just wanted to thank you, and I need to take you up on your offer and come sit down with you and play with it, nerd out a bit.
You can also, if you're interested, give me a call from your own computer at home, and I'll just walk you through it.
I think I'll take you up on it. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Looks like you're still up, Tabitha, so we're going to receive an update on Measure H.
So I thought it would be helpful to walk the council through a version, the presentation that we've given to a few of the community groups, and make sure that you are sort of aware of where we're at and what's happening with the outreach there. But I did want to, before we get started, I think everybody's aware that flyers did go out from the city on Measure H. We sent out 8,200 and I believe 56 to residential addresses throughout the city as just an informational item. And so that's underway. I'm going to go through this really quickly, but it's really basic, just reminding you that the council placed this ballot measure on. It was a unanimous vote. It will increase, if approved, it will increase the city sales tax by 3/4 cents. And the services, it's there to provide services and expand services in emergency and climate change response, homeless and its impacts, mental health response to crisis, and then maintaining sidewalks, bike lanes, and transit roads, trails, forest, and parks. But it is obviously not limited to that. Just a reminder, it is also a general tax, which means two things. One, the city has designated it for these uses. It is not legally bound in the future to do that, and it only takes a majority of 50% plus one vote to pass and be adopted. In anticipation of placing that on the ballot, we did do a survey back in March of the community. We had 567 responses. Just to let you know, there are, depending on the time, there's about 10,261 registered voters as of the September 6th for the November 2024 election. So that number fluctuates a little bit, but it was a little over 5% of the community, of the voters that got to participate in the survey. And they were asked a number of top priorities, and these are just the sort of top items that they pointed out as top priorities for them, particularly in the community. And you can see conserving our natural resources was high on it. We certainly had some responses to transparency from a financial perspective, clinical response to those in crisis, maintaining roads, and then homelessness and storm drain, and then of course preparing for natural disasters and emergencies was also important. A few other things: cleaning up blight, improving safety for people walking and biking, maintaining city services, affordable bus service, trails, and then adaptation to climate change and sea level rise, and removing carbon from our climate was also really important. Kind of just a reminder of why we consider placing it on the ballot. Really what's happened over time is that the city for a number of years in the past has been able to get outside funding, the ARPA funding, COVID relief funding, that has allowed the city councils to not only kind of plug some gaps in our programs and spending, but also to expand programs. And we found that those were really important. That money is essentially spent at the city level, and it is completely gone by December of 2026. And if we do not either increase revenues and or reduce our expenditures, we're looking at about a $1.3 to over $2 million a year annual deficit in our general fund. And so we've got to find one or the other or both of those solutions to kind of plug that hole. And over 6 years, that would mean a $12.4 million drop in the city's general fund reserves if nothing changes. And that is essentially, what you have available currently today. Is local funding needing? It is if we really want to be able to continue and improve these services. It includes transportation, extreme weather shelter, trained crisis counselor response, a Valley West Community Center, an energy efficient green fleet, being able to build those complete streets, and our community ambassador program. Just a reminder of what a complete street is. It's a street that is really geared toward making sure that everyone can use and has access to our streets. And it's really in particular focused on making sure that it's safe and secure for those people who are walking, who are biking, and also on wheels. One of the other things, and we mentioned this during the financial review, and we've talked a lot about the fact that the city has been very, very successful in getting grants to support infrastructure in the city, and in particular, our parks and our facilities. But what we're not really great at is being able to maintain and fund the ongoing maintenance and operations of those facilities. And that's one of those things that I think we need to focus on, making sure that we have the resources in order to maintain what we've been able to build. Just a reminder of what the Community Ambassador Program is. It's there to build relationships with the community, including the housed, unhoused, and small businesses. It's a resource, it's a presence, and they work 7 days a week, every day of the year. Again, one of the things that's really important and built into Measure H is accountability and transparency. Like all of the city's expenses, it is subject to an annual audit by an independent CPA firm. It will have oversight from a citizen committee, and by law, local sales tax funds must be spent and will stay in the community. We have to talk about what it does cost. It would increase the local sales tax by 3/4 cent, which is 75 cents on every $100 spent. State law does exempt everyday essentials, including prescription, medication, groceries, and diapers. The sales tax is paid by anyone in the city of Arcata who makes taxable purchases, so it includes people who just work here, study, or visit Arcata on their way through. And it is, the sales taxes are proportional to how much you spend or how much you're using. And if this tax passes, it would be the same rate that is currently in Eureka. The current rate is 8.5%, and just a quick breakdown on how that works out. I'm going to go back to my cheat sheet here. So currently, 21% of the sales tax goes to Arcata, 33% to the county, and 46% to the state. If the city's tax, the 3.25% passes, and the county 1% passes, Arcata would get 24% of the total sales tax in Arcata, the county would get 37%, and the state would get 38%. This is not a surprise. I think everybody is talking. In fact, Councilmember Stillman gave me a copy of the North Coast Journal. It's on their front cover, but there are lots of tax measures on the ballot, not just in Humboldt County, but all over the state. We have 2 other cities in Humboldt County, both Fortuna and Trinidad, asking for 3/4 cent. The county's asking for 1%. Several fire districts are asking for funding, and I think 4 school districts, not including College of the Redwoods, that's asking for a parcel tax. I looked at some other, using Ballotpedia, looking at just the state of California. We have 44 other municipalities asking for a sales tax increase in the state. And interestingly enough, when you look at those are large amounts. They're usually a half to a full percent. And then there are another 24 I found parcel tax measures, and 13 other taxes, including many hotel tax increases. So this is certainly going to be a challenge and a big issue for voters to move through. And just a couple informational sites. Obviously, if you want more information or you want to register to vote, Humboldt County Elections Department. Anybody who wants information from the city, are the numbers there, and you can certainly email the city manager at City of Arcata, or you can certainly reach out to me. And then we've got a page on the city website that's also available.
Thank you, Tabitha. Does anybody have any questions?
No, I just wanted to say that I'm glad you pointed out that it's the same rate that Eureka's already, and what we pay, if we shop there or go through there. So thank you for that. And then also, when you were talking about the survey in March, I meant to share this with our council reports, but 80% of those who took the survey were interested in preparing for natural disasters and emergencies. So tomorrow is Great Shakeout. We live in earthquake country. Go to the website and you can see how you can participate. And that was it.
Well, I thought the timing was quite good because the day the absentee ballots showed up, or maybe they aren't called absentee anymore, but anyway, the ballot showed up, was the same day the flyer for Measure H arrived. so everyone had an opportunity to, when they got their ballot, they could also read about Measure H.
Yeah, and I just want to say I appreciate the piece on oversight. The number one rumbling that I've heard is it goes into the general fund. How are we going to make sure that we're spending it the correct way? So knowing that there is oversight and that we're being accountable for everything that we're spending on, that we're spending it on what we say we're going to spend it on, I think it was important to point out and very appreciated. So thank you.
And something I would add there is that the TUTAC, the Transaction and Use Tax Committee Oversight Committee met about just back in September, and they'll be coming to you in November for their annual update. And one of the things we talked about is if Measure H does pass, how do we put that accountability piece in place from the beginning and make sure not just being accountable, but making sure that we put the accounting structure in place so that we can report back to the public how those funds are spent.
We really appreciate you, Tabitha. Thank you so much for being so thorough. Anybody else have any questions or comments? All right, let's move on. Thank you.
Can I just make one quick addition? Since we're in the staff report section, I wanted to note that there are a couple of people who are on Zoom who wanted to speak during early oral communications, and so just identify that there's an opportunity at the end of the meeting to speak as well. Wanted to let them know that.
Thank you. Yes, there will be an opportunity to speak at the end of the meeting, and you will have 3 minutes at the end. Now we're going to move on to the consent calendar. So all matters on the consent calendar are considered to be routine by the City Council and are enacted in one motion. There is no separate discussion of any of these items. If discussion is required, that item is removed from the consent calendar and considered separately. A is approve the minutes of the City Council meeting of October 2nd, 2024. B is bi-weekly report on disbursements. C is adopt resolution number 245-11, authorizing the destruction of certain city records maintained by the city relating to departments of the city manager, contracts, special projects, human resources, city clerk, environmental services, recreation, and finance as permitted under the section 34090 of the California Government Code and the Secretary of State's Local Government's Records Program. D is adopt resolution number 245-13, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Arcata amending regulations governing commercial cannabis activity permits. E is approve an annual proclamation designating September 15th through October 15th as Latinx Heritage Month in the City of Arcata and add the proclamation to the council-approved list. And F is to approve the quote amendment for an additional $36,308.26 to purchase three Claw-Valve pressure reducing valve vault systems for a total amount of $218,050.16, includes sale tax. Authorize the city engineer to increase the purchasing amount by up to $21,805.02, which is 10%, for a total of $239,855.18, to allow for any unforeseen contingencies and additional equipment as necessary, and authorize the city manager to execute all applicable documents and agreements. Would anybody like to pull something off the?
Well, I'd like to move for B through F and not for A, but I also move for B through F.
You're pulling A?
I have to. Mm-hmm.
And I, no.
Not A, don't you, for disbursements? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
That's B. But you don't have to pull it, right? You just don't vote on it.
Okay, oh, that's right, I'm sorry, should A, skipping B. I always have to do this once a month.
Well, why don't you let someone else make the motion?
So.
And then you can just.
Yeah.
And I don't.
Because you can just abstain from the vote on item B. So I will make a motion to approve consent calendar items A through F.
Could I, sorry, I don't want to pull item E. I just want to say I'm super excited that we're adding the Latinx Heritage Proclamation to the council-approved list.
Okay. So we have a motion. Before we come back, do you want to?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Let's open it up for public comment for the consent calendar, and then we'll go back to our vote.
Hello, my name's Joanne McGarry, and I had the opportunity to hang out in City Hall while early this afternoon and look at the folder about the meeting tonight, and I don't often get a chance to do my homework, so to speak. It's a little constraining kind of to have to stand over and lean over that folder to look at some of the things. But what I did want to share with you is how thorough the city is in making sure that they're crossing Ts and dotting Is. And what I really appreciate, and I think I could give Tabitha Miller the credit a bit is explaining in the cash disbursements what this money is going to, and it's really appreciated along with all the other transparency, one of the T's of my THC of this city. And so I just wanted to thank you for ongoing efforts to make things more transparent. And when you're shredding things too, I really appreciate knowing what you're shredding and why. So I just encourage everybody who's watching this to read the packet so you can understand things better if you've got the time. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
I vote for everything except for B.
All right.
And I can explain why.
You don't have
We
to.
have a tenant assistance program in the city of Arcata, and one of my tenants takes advantage of that. So every disbursement time, I go through all the way through everything to see if my name is in there, and if my name's in there, then even though there's over 1,000 checks, maybe 2,000 checks written, I then don't vote.
Thanks for that explanation.
I'm
Vice
sorry,
Mayor
can
Stillman.
I just ask a question on the
Yeah.
vote? Is with if there's one motion on the floor, would Stillman be abstaining from the whole motion?
I'll vote abstain or no, whatever it is.
It's just an abstention on item B.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes to the rest.
She's abstaining on item B, I think is what you want to say.
But it was all one motion.
Oh. Yeah, so when I
but she made a motion, but I think the second motion, doesn't that supersede the first motion? Yeah, Sarah made the motion that was seconded.
For the whole thing. So I have to abstain. I won't vote. No.
Government. All right, we will move on. Is everybody okay? Can we keep going? Great. Let's move on to new business. Our first item on the agenda is to appoint one new member to the Planning Commission for a term expiring March 31st, 2028. Any questions or comments for the council?
Exciting to have a candidate with architecture experience.
And also
Right.
somebody who is a renter as opposed to a homeowner, and yeah.
But we do have another planning commissioner who happens to be a tenant and not a homeowner.
Well, I think they were very thorough in their answers, and it seemed to be very
I'm just clarifying
well
that for you.
Suited. I'll open it up for public comment. If anybody has public comment on this item. All right, seeing none.
Still do have two hands up.
Oh, somebody,
from
I'm sorry.
Previously, I'm not sure if they want to speak on this
Somebody want to
item.
speak on this planning commission item? Apologies.
Lori, did you want to speak on the planning commission item?
I had my hand up during the public comment, but I was not acknowledged, so.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, we didn't get, the public comment period was held for only 30 minutes, and we didn't get to folks on Zoom, so there will be a period after the meeting, or at the end of the meeting, to do public comment again.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So is there anybody
And
on Zoom? that-
Jean, did you want to comment on this item? Jean, can you unmute and let us know, were you hoping to comment on this item?
All right, well, let's come
Okay,
back.
I would like to make a motion to appoint Ashton Ham to the Planning Commission for a term that ends March 31st, 2028.
I'll second.
All right, we have a first by Councilmember Schaefer and a second by Councilmember White. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Welcome if you're watching. We're looking forward to working with you. All right, item B is introduce ordinance number 1572, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Arcata amending Article 1 in Chapter 2, Title 2 of the Arcata Municipal Code to include the city manager's authority to sign documents, waive reading of text, and consent to read by title only. And can we get a staff report from City Clerk Rhea Varley?
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. I'm presenting to you this evening regarding a proposed ordinance to add language to the Arcata Municipal Code detailing the city manager's signing authority. For reference, the city's Community Development Department regularly submits grant applications to the California Department of Housing and Community Development, otherwise known as HCD. HCD has informed the city that in order for the city manager to execute HCD contracts or other grant documents going forward, the city is required to have specific language regarding the signing authority in the Arcata Municipal Code. So amendments to Chapter 2, officers and employees of Title 2 administration are necessary for the city to comply with this requirement. If this authorization is not added to the municipal code, then only the mayor would have the authority to execute the documents required by HCD, provided that the city's elected officials typically have other professional obligations during regular working hours. It would not be reasonable to expect the mayor to be the only signing authority for items such as these that have pretty quick turnaround times sometimes. The revisions proposed by ordinance number 1572 grant the city manager's signing authority as provided in California Government Code section 40602 when authorized by motion, resolution, minute order, or other appropriate action of the city council to sign warrants drawn by the city treasurer, written contracts and conveyances made or ordered by the city, or instruments requiring the city seal. Furthermore, the proposed ordinance stipulates that all contracts shall be in writing, provides definition for the term contract, and authorizes the city manager and his or her designee to sign the contracts on behalf of the city that do not require prior city council approval. These proposed revisions satisfy the requirements set forth by HCD so that the city manager can execute HCD contracts and other grant agreements. That being said, it is recommended tonight that the council introduce ordinance number 1572 as detailed in the staff report recommendation and waive reading of the text and consent to read by title only. Thank you.
Can I just add one thing to that as well, that this is really our current practice. This is how we've done, HCD contracts for as long as I've worked here, and certainly longer than that. This was a new interpretation that was made by HCD's legal team, and it's not in fact shared by many other legal analysts, including those from HUD. But we do need to comply with this to maintain our regular operations for HCD grants.
So I'd like to make a motion to introduce ordinance number 1572, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Arcata amending Article 1 in Chapter 2, Title 2 of the Arcata Municipal Code to include the city manager's authority to sign documents, waive reading of the text, and consent to read by title only.
I will second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any public comment on this item? All right, I'll bring it back to the council. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, this motion passes. We'll move on to item C, introduce ordinance number 1573, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Arcata amending the Arcata Municipal Code regulations regarding short stay vacation rentals and boards, commissions, committees, and task forces. Waive reading of the text and consent to read by title only. And can we have a staff report from Director of Community Development, David Loya?
Yeah, good evening, Mayor and Council. I did want to identify a change to the ordinance before you introduce it tonight. We have looked through our records and don't believe that the first section is required at this time. And so what I would have you amend your motion, or amend the action rather, to strike from the title the words short stay vacation rentals and that will leave just the boards, commissions, committees, and task forces. And then strike the text in section 1 and put in the word reserved. And so we're essentially eliminating section 1 from this ordinance and implementing the rest of it. The rest of this ordinance would amend the committee's role with the City of Arcata. In particular, the Historic Landmark Committee has made an action recently to move to every other month meetings, and so this would reflect that. This would also change the role of the Economic Development Committee, which has had several months of challenges making full quorum and finding productive work. What we would like to do instead with that committee is to invite those who are interested to participate in the economic strategic plan that we're working on. And if they wish to continue to serve in that way to provide their expertise in that planning effort, we'd love to invite them to do that. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
RIP, Economic Development Committee. That's where I got my start. So shout out to Jane and all her great notes and years on the Economic Development Committee. I'm just wondering, just because Councilmember Schaefer brought up restarting the Public Safety Committee again. Would this affect that at all? Because I think everybody thought that that might be a great.
This doesn't affect the Public Safety Committee. The Public Safety Committee is still encoded in the municipal code, and so this doesn't change that.
Excellent. Well, I would encourage anybody that's interested to, join the Economic Development Task Force. I think there's some really interesting things that we can do. So, yeah. Anybody else have any comments? Sorry, I went first.
I do, around the economic development plan that's going to be moving forward. And as I've run into people in the community that I think that would be good for it or they're interested, I've submitted those names forward. And so my thought process is they will all be contacted at some time and said that we're putting a committee together and would they be interested in serving on it. In which, at that time, they have the opportunity to fill out whatever paperwork is going to be required, etc. So I just wanted to let you know that I have been doing that.
That's fantastic, Alex. Anybody else have comments?
So I guess I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance number 1573, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Arcata amending the Arcata Municipal Code regulations with a strike title through short stay, vacation rentals and boards, commissions and committees and task force, waive the reading of text and consent to read only by title and text, strike the text section 1 and replace with, that's the part I got lost with.
Replace with reserved, or you could just say as amended by staff.
Okay, reserve or as amended by staff.
All right, we have a motion.
May I interrupt?
We have a motion and a second, but now I'll open it up for public comment before I take it to the final vote. Wait.
And what I'm understanding is existing committees, oversight, or task forces and this and that will be following this amended ordinance proposal. If there are new committees or task forces or oversight committees and things like that, that will just be enveloped into what is now being passed, or does that need to be some sort of separate thing? So, like they were talking about an oversight committee for police department or something, that has nothing to do with this particular thing. Okay.
This is this.
Pardon?
This is just what it says here.
Okay. And I was just wondering if Council of Elders is something that could be added to our committees and agencies with the city for something that comes down in the future, because I'd like to see that.
Okay, we have a motion. Councilmember White, a second. Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, correct me if I didn't hear it, but I just wanted to make sure that waive reading of the text and consent to read by title only was included in that motion.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Motion, Councilmember White, second, Vice Mayor Stillman, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, moving right along. D, public hearing on updates to the master fee schedule and adopt resolution number 245-12, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Arcata adopting changes to the city's master fee schedule. Tabitha, you're up.
Good evening again. So this is actually a companion item to Resolution 245-13 that you adopted on consent tonight, which actually amended some of the commercial cannabis activity permits. So typically we bring annually our fee schedule to you as part of the budget process to look at in anticipation of adopting the budget. But we can make changes at any time. And one of the important factors about the fees that we charge for the services provided is that they must be reasonable to just cover the cost of the service provided. They're not taxes, so we can't make any additional money on them. And so we've gone through and reviewed and revised based on updated estimates and calculations on what it actually costs to provide those services. The only changes to the fee schedule are related to the CCAP, or the cannabis, commercial cannabis activity permits. And there are both increases and decreases, as you likely saw in your staff report. I will say that the largest fees, which are associated with the new permit application fee, the new permit operating fee, and the renewal permit operating fee, which are the largest currently the largest and continue to be the largest source of revenue for that category, are significantly being decreased. So they actually are somewhere between 47 and 53%. This will it will reduce the overall CCAP revenues that the city receives. We're estimating probably about a 40% reduction in the next full fiscal year. But again, legally, we are only able to collect the cost of administering those services. And with that, I would just ask that the mayor open the public hearing for any public input on this item. And we have gone through the process. The state statute does require certain noticing, so we've had to advertise it twice before the meeting. We conduct a public hearing so the public has an opportunity to speak on it, and then there's a waiting period for when it will be effective. It's typically 30 to 60 days depending on the fee. We've always erred on the 60 days to make sure that we don't miss that. And then we typically will also pick a specific kind of a good round number, either the beginning of the fiscal year, or in this case, we're picking January 1st as the date that these new fees will be effective.
Then I will go ahead and open up the public hearing.
Could I ask a clarifying question before, or should I wait till after?
Let's just see if there's anybody that wants to be publicly heard. Anybody on Zoom? All right, go ahead.
So I just was wondering, you said it was like a 47% in the CCAP. Do we know what that number might have, what it looked like last year then?
Yeah, and it's actually in the staff report. So,
I apologize.
So the 47 to 53% is specific to certain fees.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you, so the CCAP new permit application fee, the fee that is currently in place is $2,988.40. We're proposing, if the council adopts it tonight, a $1,400 fee instead, which is a decrease of 53%. The CCAP new permit operating fee was $4,780.50. We're proposing a $2,520 fee, so it's a 47% decrease. And then the CCAP renewal permit operating fee was also $4,780.50. That's dropping again also to $2,520. So again, it's a 47% decrease. There are smaller fees, smaller admin fees that are also there's a few that are going up and some that are going down. So, but overall, those three big permit fees were the ones that are the bulk of the cost of the CCAP program.
So about $5,500 total-ish.
But they're not everybody pays the same fees.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking of what we're going to be losing.
We're going to be losing, so actually to step back, to put it in perspective, the budget for this year is $240,000. So we're estimating that we'll probably bring in about $145,000 the next full year instead of that amount.
Yeah, and if I could provide a little context for the rationale behind this, the CCAP program is, several years old now. We've had several amendments to the program over this time, both in the resolution and the underlying ordinance, and we haven't amended or reviewed the fees in that entire time. We have a lot of practice now with the program. We know what it takes to operate it, and frankly, this initiated from a business owner questioning, the fees and asking, what are we paying for? What are we actually doing? What does this actually contribute to? And what are we getting out of it? And so that led me to conduct a time study and really evaluate each of these different processes and what it takes for us to, to implement them. And I do want to say that there's also a little bit of offsetting revenue because many of our CCAP holders, they're struggling. It's very difficult to operate in this business. It's difficult to operate in this time. And many of them are going to see a reduction in the overall fee, but then we'll see an offsetting increase because many of them are also on a payment plan because many of these businesses really are operating, month to month. And so when we bring, someone on and they want to set up a payment plan because that's additional expense, it's additional administration that we have to do, they'll be paying that $1,500 fee to offset those, those payments. So it does reduce our revenues, but I think it's going to, help save our businesses, and, and it's more in line with the actual cost of operating the program.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear that we made those adjustments now that we're out of our learning curve. It doesn't take as much time.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 245-12, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Arcata updating the master fee schedule for various fees and service charges for fiscal year 2024-25.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilwoman Schaefer, second from Vice Mayor Stillman. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, are we okay? Can we keep going? All right. E, authorize the city manager to provide the California Transit Indemnity Pool, CalTIP, notice of the city's intent to terminate participation in transit vehicle coverage program effective May 1st, 2025, and work with Humboldt Transit Authority, HTA, on an agreement for transfer of the city-owned transit vehicles to HTA. Can we get a staff report from Finance Director Miller?
Yes, so this is an item I'm actually covering, so don't ask me any detailed questions about it, but I can tell you what we're doing here. So first of all, this is the first step in that transition of turning over our fleet vehicles from our transit system to the Humboldt Transportation Authority. One of the things that we have to do is, because we have insurance with California Transit Indemnity Pool, we call it CalTIP, we have to provide them notice by October 31st if we are not going to renew for the next fiscal year. The good thing is that if something happens and changes between October 31st, when we have the city manager give notice, and January 31st, we can rescind that. But that process will save us about $65,000 to $75,000 next year if we're not double paying fees because we no longer have those vehicles on our books. So that's the first step. And I can tell you that I'm not involved in the actual transfer, so I don't have any real answers as to what that agreement with the HTA or the Humboldt Transit Authority would look like. But I can tell you that we're moving forward with the process. Yes.
Well, one of the things that, since I've been on Humboldt Transit Authority for the last year and a half, is trying to make this happen and to make our movement to move all of our buses over underneath them, and they have the full responsibility, and that we won't. I know it's a hard process because, of course, Arcata is the first one that started a bus system in Humboldt County, and now we're relinquishing all of our pride and buses and so forth over to HTA. And every so often I'll hear, why is there an Arcata bus running in Eureka? Well, they had to put it on that route because they needed to. So you'll see things that are a little different off and on, but not very often. I think that our bus system, our HTA, is in really good hands. Greg Pratt has done a fantastic job on it, and he's always forward-thinking. And so this will take us into our next step of consolidation. The city of Eureka's bus system is completely run by HTA, and they don't have anything really to do with it. I'm sure we won't ever be totally hands-off because of just the way we are in Arcata. But I think this is a really good step, and we'll watch our steps move forward in the future. And that's how it is at the moment.
Thank you.
I'm going to open up for public comment, and then we can go back to the council.
Here with Councilmember Stillman. This has been in the process, and I've been observing it, and I think it's a much needed thing for the 21st century and our dealing with our transit and making it, and I don't always like to use the word streamline, but when it comes to transit, streamlining the regional different parochial operations, I think, and making it more collective, and that HTA, Humboldt Transit Authority, is working regionally with other counties. So it's been really, really exciting to see the future happening now. And so this step, whatever the legalities of dates to determine, is really good. So I, wholeheartedly support this.
Thank you.
So with that, I would like to move to authorize the city manager to approve the California Transit Indemnity Pool notice of the city of Arcata to terminate participation in transit vehicle coverage payments effective May 1st, 2025, and work with Humboldt Transit Authority on an agreement for the transfer of the city-owned transit vehicles to HTA.
I will second.
Okay, we have a motion from Vice Mayor Stillman and a second by Councilwoman Schaefer. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion passes, and we move on to F, approve an additional budget appropriation in fiscal year 24-25 of $60,000 from the reserved Intermodal Service Transportation Efficiency Act fund balance. Approve a contract amendment in the amount of $60,000 to GHD Incorporated for additional construction management and inspection services for the Old Arcata Road Improvements Project, and authorize the city manager to execute all applicable documents. And can we get a staff report from the Assistant City Engineer, David Case? Hey.
Hi, good evening. So, yeah, as it reads there, GHD is currently helping us with some consultant services for construction support for Old Arcata Road project. Initially, we budgeted for what we expected for that project, but as you probably can tell and know, that it's a complicated project, and there's a number of things that just have required a little bit more support from them. So we are nearing the end of the budget that we currently have, as of currently today, really. And so this money is what we figured, talking with them, to see what we would need to get us through the rest of the project. So it still is going to be tight, but we do anticipate to be able to complete the project with this remaining funds.
Yes, I raised this earlier with you, and I'm curious, you mentioned to me the landscaping portion of the project has not been let to anybody, is that correct?
That's correct.
So will that be an additional fund?
It will, but it's not on GHD's scope of
Okay.
work. Yeah, it's not through them, no.
Okay, thank you. That's right, I'm sorry. But I still think about landscaping, and I might as well just throw it out right now, that everybody says that, oh, you have your plants that are indigenous to our area, et cetera, and they'll just do fine, but they require water for 3 years for establishment, especially because they're in concrete areas. And an example is Samoa Boulevard, which was supposed to be having large trees on it by now, but only has twigs of weeds in the little openings that were supposed to be for trees. So I think, I just want to keep thought process that we really look at that, because this will be a really nice area to have good landscaping, but in our contract, we'll have to have whoever it is water for 3 years. Thank you.
All right. I guess we haven't taken comment yet, but in light of that, I will make a motion to approve an additional budget appropriation for 24-25 of $60,000 from the Reserved Intermodal Surface Transportation Efficiency Act fund balance, and approve a contract amendment in the amount of $60,000 to GHD for additional construction management and inspection services for Old Arcata Road, and authorize the city manager to execute all applicable documents.
And I'll second that.
All right, before we go to a final vote, are there any public comments on this agenda item? All right, anybody on Zoom? I'll bring it back to the council. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion passes. All right. Brings us time to our oral and written communications. Before we go to that, my sincerest apologies to those of you that have been waiting on Zoom. I really apologize, and want to assure you you'll get your full 3 minutes after the public comments here. So please accept my apology. Let's go.
Hi, I'm Shay Freedomhaler. I'm a candidate for Arcata City Council. I've been going to the last few council meetings, and I would like to say it was really encouraging tonight to see all the enthusiasm and the engagement from the community. I don't support violence in any ways. I think that a sister city in Gaza would be good, and also police oversight here. Anything to support nonviolence and also diversity is good. I'd also like to compliment the current city council for being so concise and polite and eloquent in the past few meetings and also tonight. And I'll be happy to serve with any of these lovely council people here. And if it pleases the city clerk, I'd like to present a magic trick, which might be politically illuminating, may or may not be politically illuminating, but politics, you see, are a lot like this rope. So you get home, you wake up in the morning and you tie your shoes in a bow. You get home at the end of the night, and like politics, it's tied in a nice, pretty bow. But you wake up the next day, and you tie your shoes in a bow again. But you see, you get one end caught through this loop, and you get another end caught through this loop, and when you get home at the end of the night, your politics are all caught in a knot. So you go into your pocket and you pull out some patented Shave Free Love wiffle dust, put on the knot, take the knot, pull it to the end of the rope, give it a little kiss, and ta-da, magic. I mean, politics. Vote Shave Free Love for Arcata City Council. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Tough act to follow at the end of a meeting. My name's Joanne McGarry. I do appreciate the listening and the ability and the opportunity for people to come and speak tonight on issues that really concern them. I was out of town last week at a memorial for a 36-year-old relative who passed away from brain tumor and took the train and the bus, so I had a lot to share with you about what I experienced and thought about on my trip to and from other places in California. From a train and a bus, you see a lot that you don't see when you're maybe driving the highway or staying at home. So I will talk about that later. I spoke last meeting rather, about Arcata truly considering what it wants to be as a community and the city of peace, a nonviolent city, and signing on to a charter of compassion. Being peaceful, nonviolent, and compassionate, I think, would suit Arcata quite well, and there are organizations that we can join in that capacity. There also is an International Cities of Peace organization, and I lived in Santa Barbara, and they had more than one city, sister city, and they had several, and I did attend the film about our sister city, about the yellow bus back in 1987, headed down to Nicaragua. And we host the iBlock party all the time, but I think we've lost sight of what those things were originally created. And it came from the community, and it came from our hearts and our souls. So thinking a lot about who we are come 2025, whatever the elections determine who's sitting behind there, we need to really, really demonstrate in the 21st century peaceful, nonviolent, and compassionate community. Peaceful, nonviolent, compassionate community, however we can create that. And you heard some ideas earlier today. I attended a rally today to Jared Huffman's office, 2 hours and 2 minutes of silent walking through Eureka to Congressman Huffman's office about stopping funding and weapons to Israel at this point in time. It was something many of us wanted on our resolution from March. I think it's time we reconsider adding that to our resolution. This violence and death and horror cannot be done with our tax dollars and in many of our names.
Thank you. And now we'll go to Zoom.
Lori, I know you put your hand down, but if you wanted to speak, still go ahead. Okay, raise your hand if you'd like to speak, and we'll get back to you. Go ahead, Gina.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to address something that council member said in the beginning of the meeting about how she was excited because she just approved a new loan for a new business. And I wanted to acknowledge it because while it may be exciting for her, it's actually quite scary that we are having new business owners without proper training or education or just like empathy on like how to deal with like community members, and especially knowing that like community or like business owners time and time again show us that like how they see the community. And like the other council member was mentioning, like business owners are like coming up to her, asking her to not have dogs in the plaza, not have people walking in the plaza, not have people doing anything in the plaza. And just like recently, we had like a business owner literally call a cop on the cops on like somebody like just like existing in the plaza. And this is like so fucking like scary. What are we doing to like educate our business owners? What are we doing to like educate people to like, I don't fucking know. Just like, what are you guys doing? Like, why are you guys just approving these business owners that are perpetuating so much harm and violence and racism on our community members?
Okay, thank you. Jean, go ahead.
How many options for cooked food is there on the plaza during the Arcata Farmers Market? Is there 5, 10? How many grills and cooks enjoy freedom and safety on the plaza while community members do typical human things outside, enjoying each other and the sunshine or rain during that farmers market? Capitalism, it's just an agreement among big bankers, Wall Streeters, the big moneyed class. It's inherently settler colonial and white supremacist. I guess deriving from that comes the grandfathered in stipulation that imposes itself here on unceded Wiyot land that grills and other cooking appliances, they can be operated on the plaza if they do it on that golden day enshrined as Saturday market. And if it is written down on a piece of tree called a permit. And based on these arbitrary rules, come Sunday through Friday, and frankly, probably right after the market closes on that Saturday, armed forces will violently jump you, but especially if you're unhoused, and especially if you're a Black man bringing a mini grill to that same plaza. This is not an agreement to which I subscribe, and I want no part in that social contract. I reject so-called public safety officers being the recipient of our worker tax dollars for that shared objective, which should be public safety, when they take that to mean targeting a Black community member, refusing to leave that young Black community member alone, even after he immediately complies. But instead, they make him wait and wait some more, and they call more forces to what should have been a rapt interaction. And then they escalate it by surrounding him as he's sitting down, having already complied. And then they make him wait and wait some more until there's 3 armed men tackling him. And then there's 5 armed forces on top of his body on the ground, grinding his head into the concrete, twisting his body, and then carting him off as if our peaceful community member, Mike, was a threat. I was witness there that day. I have recording of it from start to finish, starting with 20 minutes prior. And my child who was there was terrified because police are the ones that brought violence to an otherwise peaceful plaza that day on stolen Native land. Now police are slapping Mike with bogus charges. So I'm here to say they must be dropped. And we need every single person on that council to do the bidding that you need to do in order to get that done. I personally want to hear from and listen to the community members who are historically robbed and exploited, who are oppressed, and that they're the easy targets of this violent policing system in Arcata. So we need to know what they say they need to be protected. By the way, UPD was on site that day to assist with that jumping of a Black community.
Thank you for your comment, Jean. Thank you.
Drop the charges.
Go ahead, Shannon.
Hi, I just wanted to call in support of the Sister City initiative that was proposed today by the Redwood Peace and Justice Coalition. I think it would send a strong message of solidarity with Indigenous peoples all across the world as we witness a genocide of epic proportions executed with our tax dollars. So also just to note what the other speakers brought up, this is all connected and we are becoming more and more a police state. And our police forces train and share information with the Israeli government and the tech industry. And there is currently weapons of warfare, artificial intelligence weapons of warfare being tested on Palestinian human beings right now at a record rate. And this sets a scary, disturbing precedent for every single person of what the future is to bring. So I just hope that our elected representatives can think about other people, indigenous people across the world who stand in solidarity with the indigenous people of Palestine. And I would love to hear some support to sponsor a sister city in Gaza and to speak up against police violence against Black bodies. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Sandra. Sandra, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Sandra Martokia, and I just called in after I've been watching your meeting today, and I saw that there's a call for potentially supporting Arcata being a sister city with Gaza. And so I'm calling to add more support for that possibility, which I think is a very beautiful, compassionate idea. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Ellen. Go ahead, Ellen. Sorry, we had a technical glitch.
There we go. You can hear me now, right?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Thank you. Yeah, so, you know, yesterday the community came together to mark 7.5 years since David Josiah Lawson was murdered, and the police botched the investigation because they just didn't care that a young Black person was killed in our community. And last week I witnessed a young Black person being brutalized by the police, including one with a knee on his head, and then lie about what happened to the public. And I have been sick to my stomach ever since. What if community members had not been there, filming those racist, violent officers, 5 piled on one young person, and screaming at them to stop hurting him? What would have happened? City Council, I'm sorry, but the reputation Arcata has as a progressive city is a joke. It would be funny if it weren't so serious. I also witnessed the police beating students just 6 months ago who'd intended to have a peaceful sit-in on campus, just about a mile from where you're sitting now. This has got to stop. Do police keep us safe? No. All I ever see them do is escalate violence. Community members, I need you to understand something. Calling the police on Black, brown, and unhoused folks is violent. It is violent. Do not call the cops. Do not call the cops. Plaza business owners, mind your own damn business. Let Black people exist in public space, whether you personally like what they're doing or not. City Council, if you want to maintain your reputation of progressiveness, you will defund the police. I'm glad to hear that some of you are going to be hopefully following up to get charges dropped against Mike, but that's not going to solve this. This is going to keep happening as it has been for years. Abolish the Arcata Police Department. Use that budget towards community care, housing assistance, and dear God, please, anti-racism training for all your staff and the local business owners. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Lori.
Thank you. I just wanted to endorse the idea of stopping fluoridation. I know that that it really is not happening because of your equipment, but there needs to be an official declaration of stopping fluoridation, as the preponderance of evidence shows that it's harmful for particularly children. We want to protect our children at all costs. And I appreciate all the speakers that have spoken up today in light of the brutality that went down, and that's really unacceptable, and I'm really sad to hear that. And I like the idea of being a sister city to Palestine. Let's end all wars. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all we have.
All right, then I will go ahead and close oral communication. Dates of future meetings. So we do have a study session on October 30th, 2024 at 5:30 in the council chamber with the Planning Commission. I'm looking forward to that. Mainly so we don't have to announce it at every meeting. And yeah, I'll go ahead and adjourn. Thank you.